This is the Pickleball and Partnership Podcast, the place to talk about building better connections with your partner, learning how to communicate with each other, and how to inject fun into your relationship, all through the game of pickleball. If that sounds like your cup of tea, pull up a chair, grab your paddle, and join me, your host, Charlotte Dukes, for Pickleball and Partnership. I would like to welcome a very special guest, Brent Kelley, who works for the Orange County Fire Authority at Station Number 2 in Los Alamitos. Did I say that?
That's right. Yeah, that's it.
Alamitos. Love it. A city I discovered of around 12,000 population. I think that's right. And that's in Orange County, California, in the US. And you're assigned as the engineer on one of the paramedic fire engines there. Brent, you've been working for Orange County Fire for 17 years. Wow.
17 years, yeah.
And playing pickleball for about 7 years. Wow, that's a lot longer than I've been playing.
You really have no choice when you work for the fire department, at least around here. To try to not play pickleball would be harder than to just play pickleball because it has become such a prevalent activity in our organization. So you'd have to try to not play pickleball.
That's super interesting. So, okay, I'm going to jump into this, but I just want to pause there for a second because I do want to just acknowledge the recent fires in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Oh, I can only imagine that it's been so challenging for your profession. And I just wanted to ask you how that impacted you and how that period of time has been for you and your family.
Yeah, it was a tough one. It's interesting, in our line of work, you have no idea at any given moment what you're going to be doing. Because I work at a normal fire station where we do 48-hour shifts. So we do 48 hours on, and then we have 96 hours off. So 2 days on, 4 days. That is our cycle. And most of us add overtime shifts in there. So we might do 72 hours on, 72 hours off. That would be like a typical cycle. When I leave for work, I'm gone for 2 or 3, maybe 4 days. And during that time, we never know what we're going to be doing. We could be sitting there and suddenly we're going to a fire, or we're going to a traffic accident, or we're going to some kind of a medical aid. Anytime anyone calls 911 within our area, that's what we're doing. So usually, I'd say 80% of the calls that we respond to are medical in nature. It's somebody who's, oh, I'm having chest pain, or somebody having a seizure or a stroke, or maybe they fell out of a tree and broke their leg, or they crashed their car, some type of medical type of thing. I'd say 4 out of 5 calls are that. And then the other calls are going to be things like fires, usually structure fires. So it's somebody's house is on fire because some electrical thing happened, or maybe they left a stove on and they left the house and they caught their house on fire. Every once in a while, we go on what are called brush fires or wildfires. Those are not very common. In California, they're a lot more common during the summertime and the fall, just because the particular winds, the Santa Ana winds, they call them, kick up, and things have been dried out because it hasn't rained for a while. So that's usually what we call brush fire season or wildfire season. In this particular case, it was weird because it was January 6th, I think, was the day that we got dispatched. So I was just at the station, just doing my normal thing. It was about 11 o'clock in the morning. I didn't even know that the Palisades fire had already started, which was one of the fires up in Malibu. I had no idea. I was on my iPad like I am right now. I was just like watching YouTube videos. And suddenly the tones went off saying that we had a call, and I figured it was a medical aid. So I walked over to the engine because that's what we do. When the tones go off, we all go to the engine, we get in, we drive to the call, we turn on our code 3 lights, and we respond. But when I got to the engine, the captain said, "This is really weird. There's 10 of our engines assigned to this call." And it said that the call is at PCH and Sunset, which is way up in LA County. And we work for Orange County, so we're way south of that. So anyway, we got in the engine and we started driving to LA. And then we found out about 20 minutes later as we were on the freeway that like, no, actually we need to turn around because we are all meeting at one of our fire stations to group up as what they call a strike team. So everyone's going to meet up. This is going to be a big thing. This is not going to be a call that is over in the next 2 hours. This is going to be an extended call. So we all went, we met up, and that's when I found out that, my goodness, I might be gone for 2 weeks. I figured it was going to be a call that we go up, we handle it, we come back that afternoon. Maybe I'm gone for a few hours. Turns out we were going to be gone for a long time. So yeah, we headed up there and it was day one of that fire. So it was right as it was getting ramped up. And I have never in my career seen anything like that. It's interesting because like you hear stories when you get on the job of, oh my gosh, some old guy at the table, like I was around for the LA riots of 1990, whatever, or the Laguna Beach fire of 1992. And you hear these stories and it's, man, that's crazy. Yeah, every house was on fire. There were bullets flying. And I realized after I got back from this fire, I was there from January 6th to January 18th. I realized that, wow, this was the big fire of my career. I didn't know it at the time, but now I know that this was it. I've been on for 17 years and I would really doubt that I will see anything like that again. This was the one that I will always remember. And it's the one that it was crazy. It really was a crazy fire. I don't know if you saw any of news footage or anything, but it was all true. Everything they said. In fact, we were there. I remember seeing the reporters and I was like, what are you guys doing here? You should get out of here.
There was some crazy reporting, wasn't there? And I think for the rest of us, the rest of the world and us, I'm up here in Canada sitting and watching that. We couldn't even imagine. We couldn't get our heads around that. But so what I hear you saying is that you left on the 6th and you didn't come home until the 18th. That was 12 days. Yeah. Family is left at home, not knowing what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. I called my wife, Ashley, and I told her when we were at the little meetup at the station, when we were forming up as a strike team, I called her and I said, hey, I don't know what's going on, but I think there's a fire in LA and we're going. So I don't know when I'm coming home. And I don't even think she had heard. She might have saw something on Facebook, like there's a fire. But neither of us really knew the gravity of what that was. And you know, it was interesting to your point. You said that you're up in Canada and you heard about it. That's crazy. So when we got up there for the first 48 hours, we were just in it. We were fighting structure fire after structure fire. It was frustrating. You'd go put a fire out, you'd leave to go to another one. You'd come back and the house that you'd just saved was burned to the ground. So you were constantly watching all the progress that you made get completely undone. But we were just in it for 48 hours. You'd get 15 minutes of sleep here and there. But for the most part, it was just fighting fires, just craziness. And then after 48 hours, they said, hey, we're going to give you guys a break. So there's some other engines, because during the course of that 48 hours, fire engines from all over the country had come to our area to help. So we had this huge base camp full of fire engines and full of people who were ready to get in there and help. And so we had been there for 48 hours. We were just a ragtag group by then. We're like, dude, we haven't slept. I've hardly eaten anything. I feel like I'm going to pass out. This is wild. And so our battalion chief said, you guys are getting leave. We're going to get you a hotel or something so you can just rest. And we got taken off the fire line and given a 24-hour break. And I think it was during that time that I actually started to realize, hey, the whole world is looking at this, because I didn't know. I didn't realize that. I remember I was just looking on my phone because I had reception finally. And I'm like, wow, like I'm watching all these YouTube clips of Jon Stewart from Comedy Central, and he's doing his daily show. And a third of the show was on this fire. I can't remember because it had become very political too. It was like, hey, whatever, the water's run out. And that was true. I remember when that happened. We ran out of water. But I didn't realize that everything had become political and people were arguing about it. And it was like this huge spotlight was on this fire. And I had no idea until I got back into civilization and had a 24-hour rest period to be able to process that and look at my phone and look at YouTube and whatever. So that's interesting. I didn't know that even up in Canada, people are hearing about it.
Yeah, I think more people than you would all realize were sitting, watching and praying and sending good energy and just really supporting you guys and hoping it turned out well, which you knew it wasn't, because we saw people coming on and saying what they'd lost and watching their house and even footage people from inside their house as the fire hit them. But it sounds like you were very isolated. You were quite removed from the world, but connected to your firefighter community, your team, your family.
Yeah, that's all. That's what we had, was each other. It was interesting because we were in the center of what everyone was watching, but we had no idea that everyone was watching us because we were disconnected from the rest of the world. Strange.
And you relied so much on each other because that's all you had, right?
That is, you're touching on one of the biggest aspects of our job, is the teamwork aspect. It is definitely not a type of job where you are a freelancer or a one-man show. It's funny you say that because at least in Orange County, a lot of the fire stations have a picture of John Wayne, of all people. And I never knew what it was signifying, because I'd walk in the station, I'm like, there's another picture of John. It's like the same picture. What's up with that? And I found out that the reason that fire stations put up pictures of John Wayne, it's just like a normal sized photo of the guy's face. And the reason they put it up is they say, do not be a Lone Ranger. And I guess John Wayne played the Lone Ranger. And so it's basically a symbol of what not to be. Don't be John Wayne. Don't be a Lone Ranger. This is not the type of job where you're going to do everything yourself. You are going to rely on your team. So that's why, though, if you ever walk into a fire station, you see a picture of John Wayne, it's basically telling you what not to be.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, absolutely. Because you have to rely on each other. It's no point one guy going in or one person going in and saying, I got this. You all stand. Yeah. I can imagine that's not how it works. That would not be effective. So this sounds like this was probably the biggest challenge of your career.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because you go through the fire academy, and when you want to get hired, one of the things that you do is you go through this academy. And during the academy, they have a burn tower. They have all these things where they have these fires going and you get to put them out. And it's very crazy and it's exciting. And you get this idea. I'm sure it's the same in the military and everything, but you get this idea that, yeah, as soon as I go out into and I start doing the job, I'm just going to be fighting fires every day. But that's actually not the case. And I've spoken to people that I work with who were in the military. There's a handful of people who used to be in the special operations, like Navy SEAL program in the Navy. And some of them come work for the fire department after they've done their time there. And I was talking to a friend of mine who was with the SEAL teams, and he said, it's interesting. You watch a movie about the Navy SEALs, and it's actually not accurate at all. To make an accurate movie about them, it would actually be very boring, because most of it is training or getting dispatched to something, but then you get canceled. The helicopter turns around because they're going back home. And it's the same thing in our job. Like, most of what we do is not that exciting. It's, oh, we got a structure fire, let's go. And then we get there and no, it's not a structure fire. It's just somebody who has a fire in their fireplace, and somebody saw some smoke and they called 911. And now we have 5 engines here ready to put out a fire, but there's no fire. That is probably 9 out of 10 fires that we go to. It's not exciting. So when you go to the fire academy and you learn all this stuff and you're doing fire stuff every single day, and then you go to a station and you're like, okay, I'm ready, and nothing. Maybe you go on a call where somebody's having anxiety, and then you go on a call where someone stubbed their toe. Okay, that was it for today. And where's the big fire? There is no big fire. Those hardly happen. But this was one of those few times where it actually was the big fire. It took 17 years, but that was it.
And thank goodness, that is 9 out of 10. It's not that big, challenging fire. And
totally. Yeah. Because that's the last thing I want, is for there to be that was a devastating fire for a lot of people. A lot of people lost their houses.
Mm.
So in no way do we ever hope that happens. But if it ever does happen, I'm happy to go. I'm happy to go there and do my part and help out and use the training that I have for something good. But
And
I'm
if
glad,
it does
like,
happen, you guys are there. You're ready to go. Thank goodness. Thank you so much. Yeah.
oh yeah, no problem. But
Well,
like you said,
shout out to all firefighters out there. We all really appreciate you.
well, thank you very much. It's no problem. But like you said, thank goodness 17 years went by without that. But I do think that this was probably the biggest one that I will go on in my career.
Yeah. I'm curious then if we can jump on to pickleball. Now
Oh
we
yeah.
are knowing a little bit about you. Thank you for that, Brent. I love that you shared that. What attracted you to pickleball? Or like you said in the beginning, it sounds like maybe you weren't attracted to it. Maybe it drew you in because you had to.
Pickleball is you have no choice. If you are any other sport, you are just waving a white flag of defeat because pickleball came through. In our line of work, traditionally, like back in the day, like if you watch a movie that has firefighters that was made a while ago, they might be out playing like half court basketball or something, maybe soccer, maybe over the line where it's kind of like baseball where you try to just hit the ball hit a home run every time. Those were more of the typical sports. If those were like the flip phone of sports, like pickleball is the iPhone where it just came through and everyone's just, okay, we're playing pickleball now.
Oh, I
No more
love
basketball.
that. I totally get that. That makes sense to me. Yes. Every other sport and other sports people are not going to like me saying this, but yes, other sports are the flip phone and pickleball is the iPhone. Love that.
Yeah. And it's funny because I can remember 10 years ago, there was one guy and he worked at Station 7 in San Juan Capistrano, which is like South Orange County. And he was the pickleball guy. And none of us knew what pickleball was. But you just knew that if you ever went and worked at Station 7, like if I picked up an overtime shift and I was going to sevens, I knew like, all right, I'm probably going to play pickleball today. I don't know what it is, but apparently there's a guy there who knows all the rules and he plays pickleball off duty, which is, my goodness, he must really be into it if he's playing off duty because he would go like to tournaments and stuff. And he was one of those guys who was really good he didn't have to move all over the court very much. Like we'd be sprinting all over the place and he would just hit it in just the right spot where no matter how fast we ran, we weren't going to get it. So he was the one person that almost was the tip of the spear for pickleball. So he started getting more and more people into it. But then next thing you knew, it was like a tidal wave of pickleball. Suddenly pickleball was everywhere. Like I was saying at the beginning, you would have to try pretty hard to not play pickleball. I don't know if you could do it because a typical fire station, unless there's more than one apparatus, there's 4 people usually. So my station is just a single engine house. So it's a fire station with one fire engine. And there's 4 of us on the fire engine. So to try to not play pickleball would be pretty tough on the other 3 that wanted to play. So there's other stations with more people. If you go to a station that has a fire engine and a fire truck, which is the bigger one with the ladder on top, the fire truck, the one where the guy's driving on the back. I don't know if you've seen those, but that's a fire truck. So the fire trucks usually have 4 people too. So at a station like that, there might be 8. They'll just have 2 pickleball courts there or whatever.
Pickleball is just perfect for firefighters. These groups of 4. So do you have a pickleball court at the fire station?
We do. That was something that it's become quite a thing. So I'd say there are more stations with pickleball courts than without. And I use the word court pretty loosely. Someone took some paint and painted a pickleball court in the parking lot where we park our cars.
Okay.
And then they went on Amazon and bought a net, and that's the pickleball court. So sometimes it's, hey, everybody, we need to move our cars because we're going to play pickleball. And you guys are parked on the court right now.
Oh, I love that. So it sounds like in the beginning you had little choice. You were that 4th person that they needed to play.
What kept you playing? I'm assuming there's an element here of, oh, actually, I'm finding pickleball fun.
Yeah, it's interesting. This kind of, to me, ties into all the benefits of pickleball for our job because there's quite a few. And I think that the first and the biggest benefit of pickleball is that it gets people moving, it gets people exercising because it's fun to play. And I think that there are two I've noticed, and this is probably true in all aspects of life, but within the fire service, when it comes to physical fitness, I think there's kind of two camps. The camp of I'm going to work out by myself in the gym, and there's the camp of I need a team sport to get exercise. And then you can be in both camps. I think it's a spectrum. Like, I think there are people who are on either end. Like, there are some people where it's I'm not going to play pickle. I want to go out in the gym and I want to put my earbuds in and I want to run on the treadmill and I want to have my time to myself and I don't want to play a sport. That's all I want to do. And then there's the exact opposite of that, which is I cannot stand being in the gym. I find it nauseatingly boring. If we can't play a sport, I'm not working out. But then there's other people. I find myself sort of in the middle. Like for me, the perfect scenario is like a nice little gym with nobody in it, where I'm just like, I can have my time. But I also know there's people who are just like, I have to play some sport or else I'm not exercising. So for me, I'm just like, all right, as long as I can have a little bit of time in the gym also, sure, let's go play some pickleball. To me is like a garnish to the meal. You know what I mean? I'll sprinkle some pickleball in if you guys want, but I really don't want to play pickleball for 8 hours. I'd like to just play a few games. One of the benefits of pickleball in the fire service is it really addresses that group of people that have to have a team sport to get exercise. Because if they don't, then they're not going to exercise. And in our job, like you have to be in shape, at least somewhat, because you don't know what you're going to be doing. We might sitting around and next thing you know, we have to put on 30 pounds of gear and strap a chainsaw over our shoulder and climb up a 35-foot ladder just to get to the spot where we have to work to cut a hole in the roof because the house is on fire and we need to ventilate it. So you have to be somewhat in shape. You don't have to be an all-star. You don't have to be a bodybuilder, but you need to be in shape. So pickleball really gets those people who don't want to work out. It gets them working out.
Mm-hmm. And I think there are so many different types of people at varying activity levels that play pickleball. And like you mentioned before as well, with the guy at the other station, at station 7, you can be that player that really moves very little, but you play strategically. Or I'm more of the one that runs around and is determined to get every flipping shot, the lot, and the one back at the netting, that have you. But I understand that. I resonate with that. Absolutely, that pickleball really gets you moving around. It keeps you active. And it sounds as though that has really helped to keep you fit to be able to do your job. Would you say then that your physical abilities as a firefighter has helped you play pickleball?
Yeah, totally. Because I feel like most people in our job are somewhat physical people to begin with. That's one of the things that attracted them to the job. They wanted to have a job where they were going to be out doing things and moving their body and not being confined to an office type of job. I've had an office job too, and those are tough because you're just sitting there. Whereas our job, you're out moving around. So I think that like the people who come into our job are naturally predisposed to something like pickleball because they want to be out there. They want to be doing something.
That makes sense. Absolutely. Yes. And would you say that pickleball has helped you develop other skills that transfer to firefighting as well? I don't know, quick decision making, maybe spatial awareness, things like that, communication.
Yeah, absolutely. And probably the biggest thing is like we were talking about, it just reinforces that aspect of teamwork because there are some shots where, if you're playing doubles, like 2-on-2, and there's no way you're going to get to that ball over there. You have to rely on your teammate. So it reinforces what you already know, but it's a team building thing for sure.
I can see that. And I think that was one of my main reasons for wanting to start this podcast, because my husband, Neil, and I learned to play pickleball together and then suddenly realized that we were communicating in a completely different way on the pickleball court, that we could then relate that back to our relationship. We've been together 30 years, but here we are all of a sudden playing pickleball and finding that actually, hey, this really works on the pickleball court. Let's take this off the court. Let's take this into our marriage and try this instead of what we're doing that hasn't been working. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
what would you say is your most meaningful connection that you've made through pickleball? Is there one connection that stands out for you?
I think that if there's one connection that I think is the most meaningful, and I think that everybody benefits from this, whether they know it or not, it's a channel to put you into a flow state. Are you in Kathy Heller's group?
Yes. Yeah, totally get what you're saying with.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
explain that further.
We got the Kathy Heller program for Ashley, my wife, and I've been doing it too, and it's fantastic. I love it. I love listening. I'm listening to her book right now also. And like when she talks about getting into that flow state, I think everybody knows what that is, but they might not necessarily know what to call it. Like maybe it's just something where, hey, I'm out surfing and I don't know what it is, but all I'm doing is surfing and I'm not thinking about anything else. And all I know is I want to keep doing it. But what's really happening is it's putting you into the present moment. It's a channel to get you into the present moment where you are not thinking about all the other things. Because I keep saying in our line of work, but I don't know what else to say. In our career, some of the things that we have to see and expose ourselves to are some pretty horrible things. Like we see people on the worst day of their life. It becomes a routine thing. It's if you're a sandwich maker at Subway, you just make turkey and avocado sandwiches and it's not stressful for you because you're just like, yeah, I've made 100. So when someone orders, you do, or this person is not breathing. This person is in cardiac arrest. Okay. Let's just do what we need to do to give this person drugs, to do CPR, to start breathing for them, all those things. But a lot of the stuff that we see is terrible and it sticks with you. Like that's what's so interesting about it. It's like in the moment that you have some horrible situation that you're trying to mitigate, in that moment, you just do it. You don't really think that much. It's not until after that you really start thinking about it. It's like when you get back to the station or when you're laying in bed and you're just, gosh, that was like that was a gnarly looking thing. And it's replaying in your head, even though the situation is already passed. You've already done it. It's over. And in the moment that you did it, you just did it. You didn't think that much. But now you're just replaying it over and over in your head. And as I'm sure, like your body doesn't know the difference between thinking about something and actually seeing it. So that's where the damage starts to build up, is all those years of thinking about all the things that you've seen and replaying them in your head. And it's like you're exposing your nervous system to that over and over again. And also like in our job, because we're gone so much, like a lot of people, they have like family problems and all kinds of things that come up from just being gone for like the Palisades fire. It's if your wife thinks you're coming home tomorrow and suddenly, hey, guess what? I'm actually going to be gone for 12 days. Or I don't even know how long I'm going to be gone. I'll let you know tomorrow. And then I'll let you know the day after. And next thing you know, it's been 2 weeks. Those kinds of things can really show their damaging effects over time. And people are constantly psychologically dealing with it. So they're all up in their head. And that's not good. So pickleball, to cycle back to your question, one of the biggest benefits, or I can't remember how you phrased it, but one of the most positive things about pickleball is it allows you to get into that flow state to where you're not thinking about all the things. You're just in the present moment, and all you know is the ball's over there. So I'm running over there and I'm going to get the ball and I'm going to hit the ball. And then now it's over here. And next thing you know, you're laughing and you're getting exercise and you're feeling better. Those like endorphins are kicking in. You're having fun with your friends. You're building that team aspect. It's not like everyone's hiding in their dorm room and then we meet at dinner time. It's like you're sharing this experience together and you're in the present moment and you're getting exercise. So it's even just that, it's just a triple whammy of good things.
Absolutely. I can really relate to that. I've been in, what you were saying, I've been in nursing for over 35 years. And actually, it was about 18 months ago, there was an incident at work that completely changed my whole outlook on life. And yeah, very interesting because I suddenly found myself in a position where I wasn't able to do the things that I have been so used to doing. When you talk about people on the worst day of their lives, people really in horrible situations. And I have honestly found pickleball to be my savior. Like pickleball has saved me from myself because yes, you can get into that flow state that you mentioned. You can get out of your head where you are telling yourself that story over and over again about, oh, I saw that awful thing that happened. And then you make it about, oh, their family. Your mind runs away with you, whatever that scenario is. And I have definitely also found that by playing pickleball, you can really pull yourself out of your head and into your body because it is one, such a physical game, two, such a social game. Communication is huge. So you have no choice but to be communicating with your partner. You're on a very small court, so you end up communicating with your opponents too. And then, like you say, yes, all of a sudden you're smiling, you're laughing, you're having fun, and your focus is literally on the present moment. So, yeah.
Hey, Pickleball and Partnership listeners, we're going to pause our incredible conversation with Brent Kelley right here. But trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next week. We've just heard about Brent's harrowing experience fighting the Los Angeles fires for 12 days straight. But in our next episode, we dive deep into his pickleball journey. How did a guy who initially had no choice but to play pickleball at the fire station become so passionate about the sport? Next week, Brent's going to share the hilarious stories of how pickleball took over his fire station, the surprising skills he's developed, and why he believes pickleball is the perfect sport for first responders. You'll hear about the Station 7 pickleball guy who started it all, and how Brent went from being dragged into games to becoming a true believer. So mark your calendars, set a reminder, do whatever you need to do, but do not miss next week's episode. This is a story you won't want to skip. Until then, pickle on. Thanks so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Anything mentioned, including links, notes, and a full episode list, will be over on our website at pickleballandpartnership.buzzsprout.com. If you got something out of this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe to Pickleball and Partnership on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, so that you are notified of new and upcoming episodes. And if you're finding value in this podcast, a cost-free way to support us is to leave a 5-star review. It truly means the world to us. This will help more people access these real conversations. And if you haven't connected with myself or Neil personally, we would love to meet you and say hi over on our Facebook page. Thanks again for listening. Please tune in next week for another exciting episode of Pickleball and Partnership. Remember, We're all learning, growing, and showing up in our own ways, and that's what matters most.